Hey everyone, it's Dominic from the Primetime Treasure eBay store and YouTube channel. Welcome back to another video. I had hoped that what I would be showing you today would be highlights of a haul video from yesterday in which I went to a 50-mile long garage sale that stretches from Homer, New York to Montezuma, New York. So if you're not familiar with this would be in the central New York area. Stretches all the way along Interstate 90, and it's done once a year, the last weekend of July. Now, while that sounds great and something you might be jealous of, this is the first time I went to it. The last few years I haven't been able to go because of other commitments, but I have to tell you, I was highly disappointed for several reasons. One reason was because most of what was there, especially in the first town of Homer, was a lot of artsy, crafty type of boutique items. Stuff that just not resellable and just something that I have absolutely no interest in. But interest level or not, again, they were not items that were resellable. They were mostly cheap. Even if they weren't crafty items, even outside of that town as we kept going, just lots of kids' clothes that had no name brands on them. They just weren't valuable in any way. Lots of cheaper items, things that were broken or had some kind of defect with them, even if they might have been something that could have been valuable. There's always something wrong with it. There's a piece missing, there was something damaged, there was a piece chipped off of a bottle, things like that. So the other thing is, once in a while you would run into somebody who was an antique dealer on the side, and so those people who actually had some items that might be good, the prices on them were absolutely outrageous, so there was no way you could purchase them for resale. So I did find a few things here or there, but overall, it was about, the start of it's about 45 minutes away from where I live. So we made a family trip out of it, but for the most part, it really was a waste of time in general from a reselling perspective in terms of sourcing. So I did find, one of the things I did find, I told you I found a few things in isolation. One of the things I did find, and I do advise picking this up, these are these old Popular Mechanics magazines, and you can see right here on the front, this is, tells you the date there, so 1949. And, for these, what I like to do is pick them up for $1 a piece or less, and then I put them up in big lots and I sell them for, for nice profit. So, just consider that. If you could get them, I would say 1950s or earlier Popular Mechanics, and you could even mix them with another kind, which is Mechanics Illustrated, or you could mix them with Popular Science magazines. And those types of classic covers, there's still an audience out there for those that's looking for them. Just make sure you're checking your spines on them, and you're checking to make sure there's no big rips inside of them or outside of them. Flip through the pages, make sure there's no major defects or anything like that. And if not, then you're good to go if you could get them for, again, about $1 or less. Now, one of the reasons I'm showing you this, not just as an item to be on the lookout for, is because of what happened when I asked for a cash receipt. Now, if you're new to my channel and you haven't seen my prior video on this, and I will link to it down below, but one of the things that I suggest that you do, and this comes on the advice of my own accountant for my reselling business, is that you make sure you try to get a cash receipt for all of your purchases so that you could deduct them from your taxes at the end of the year if you're established as a business. Now, I've had discussions with other people who are not accountants, who are other resellers, and tell me that they either don't do cash receipts or they just write their own receipts. Now, I used to write my own receipts. In other words, I would go to a sale like this, I would purchase these magazines, and then I would write down when I came home, and I'd log it somewhere like in an Excel file, and I'd say, all right, I purchased 3 Popular Mechanics magazines for $3, and that'll be it. So when I first went to meet with my accountant, and I let him know that this is what I was doing, and this is a very, very seasoned accountant. He's someone who does accounting for major law firms in the city of Syracuse. He looked at me when I told him what I was doing, and he paused, and he just said, "This could be a problem." And I said, well, why? What? And I kind of suspected what he was going to say, but what he told me is that if you get audited and all you have are receipts that you wrote to yourself for cash purchases, that may not be sufficient under an audit to prove that you actually purchased it. He said, getting a receipt that a person will initial. Now, you could write the receipt out yourself, but what you want is the person to initial it. So let me give you an example. This is and you don't have to have this. This is a sales book. I actually found this at a garage sale. I have a whole bunch of them. I pick them up every, now and then when I see them, or receipt books. And what you just do, I'll just kind of show one randomly that I kind of have here. Let's see here. So see if I can find one without, okay. I have one that I put the actual address on, but I want to show one here without putting someone's address on YouTube. But this is actually the thimble set that I purchased. So if you saw that video. So you can see here, I have the date up top, I have what I purchased, I put the city of Liverpool. If you could put the address on it, I mean, that's great too, it's just more specific. And then right here, the person put his initials, and then he wrote paid next to it. Now, of course, someone could say, well, can't you just fake the initials for every single purchase that you make and just write that down? Well, yeah, I guess you could do that. It's unethical, but the other thing is you're not going to be able to vary the font for every single one of these signatures. And you could see here, even just in terms of, it's not really a signature, but even it's just someone's initials, you could tell that's in different handwriting than, the next one that's going to come across where, for example, this person here is just going to put that, KT. So that's the point of getting the signature, is that it is a way of verifying that you actually made the purchase if you ever went under audit. Again, it's possible you may go under audit, and if you don't have cash receipts that are initial, that you could maybe get through it. But if you just want to be on the safe side, I would suggest getting the initialed cash receipts. And the way I go about it is just after the purchase is made, or right before I'm about to make an agreed upon purchase. I already fill it out. I keep a pen with me. If you don't have one of these books, you could just take like a little assignment pad or something like that and use that, or just blank piece of paper. And again, the key things, just write the date, write the city and or the address, write what it is that you purchased, what the price was, and get the initials on it. And what I just say is, would you mind signing a little cash receipt for me? I say I like to just keep track of my purchases. If someone asks a little bit more about it, I say, well, I just keep track of it as a business expense for the end of the year. And 99.9% of the time, people are fine with that, and they will say no problem, and they'll just initial it. Sometimes they'll even say, oh, I have my own receipt book here if you want me to write you a receipt. So, and a lot of times in garage sales, by the way, people are keeping track of their sales. And so you make a purchase, even at a garage sale, they're writing down what it is they sold and for how much. So especially if it's someone who did that, you could just say, yeah, well, like you're doing, I'm also keeping track of my expenses. And again, most of the time people are fine with that. I have had, since I've been doing this, which is since the beginning of this yard sale season, actually, I've had 2 instances where people have refused to sign the cash receipt. And the first time it happened was pretty much the first time I actually asked somebody to do it. And I said, oh boy, I hope these aren't going to all work out like this. But I basically went up to the guy, said the same thing. I'm just, would you mind signing a cash receipt for me? And he looked at me and he goes, nope. Stone cold, stone face like that. Nope. I thought he was kidding. So I said, are you joking around? He goes, no, not signing it. And I said, why aren't you going to sign the receipt? He goes, because it's a garage sale, it's an as-is purchase. He goes, there's no returns, anything like that. And I was just kind of taken aback by it and said, okay, just kind of walked away. And I thought to myself later, I really didn't explain to him that I wasn't trying to get a return out of it. I'm just trying to really document it from a sales perspective, just to document it for my business. So ever since then, have not had a problem. That was months and months and months ago. So yesterday, After I purchased these, I went up to the guy and I said, hey, would you mind signing a cash receipt for me? And he held the book in his hand with the pen that I gave him, and he looked at it, and he said, what's this all about? And I said, just trying to keep track of my expenses. All I need you to do is initial it. And by the way, that's something that if someone is a little cautious, they don't want to put their name down for you, that's fine. They don't have to put their name down. All they have to do is initial it. So most people, that makes them feel a lot better. And I don't put their address on it, by the way, when I have them sign it, just in case they're kind of freaked out about having their address on something. I just put the city down, and then I add the address in later when I get to the car. So just keep that in mind too. So try to make people as comfortable as possible for initialing it. And by the way, just another aside before I get back to the story, it may feel a little weird at first if you're not used to doing this, to start asking people for cash receipts. I mean, it certainly was for me, but after the first few times, it just became part of my routine, and just realizing that most people are totally fine with it, and plus just having the just the peace of mind knowing that I'm doing what was recommended by my accountant and its proper accounting procedures, that also makes me feel good as well. So anyway, going back to the story. So the guy looks at it, he asks what it's about. I explained to him, I said, well, this is for me just, keeping track of things, keeping track of my expenses. And he said, I'm not comfortable putting my initials on it. And I said, well, okay, why not? He goes, I don't want to do it. He goes, have the girl behind you, have her initial it. And that was just someone standing in line. So I said, well, I can't ask her to initial it because she didn't sell it to me. He goes, well, it's just $3. That's how much it costs. It's just $3. I said, I know it's just $3, but the money adds up over time. He says, not doing it. I'm not comfortable. I'm not doing it. At that point, and if you get in this kind of situation, it's not worth pushing it any farther than that. You try to explain it. You try to explain it politely, respectfully, professionally. But if at that point they're not going to sign it, then they're just not going to sign it. And you just say, okay. You walk away and you do what I did here. You just write on it, again, what it is, where you purchased it, and you just write, seller refused to sign receipt, or something along those lines. And now if you're thinking, well, can't you just write that for everything? Well, that's going to look weird for everything if you don't want to get initials for everything. If someone, think about it, if you're someone who does an audit, and this is all my inventory receipts for the year, okay, for 2018, that's all of them. If you're going through and you're auditing me, and you see that for the whole year I have initials on everything, and I have 2 that say person refused to sign receipt. Worst case scenario, they're going to discount it, okay? So $3 is just not going to get deducted, or $3 worth won't get deducted. No big deal. But they're going to accept it because they're going to realize that there are a small percentage of people who will not sign a cash receipt. But again, out of all these, just so you know, out of all these, only 2 refuse to sign it. So that's how you handle it. You just write on it. You don't get in an argument. You just write, seller refused to sign it. That's it. So by the way, once you get done with that and you get your receipts, you take them, you bring them home, you take them out of a receipt pad. You can keep them in the pad for a while until they build up if you want to, like I have here, some older ones. But then at a certain point, you take them out, you put them in a designated area where you're going to do your accounting work, and you enter it into a spreadsheet so that you could easily tabulate it at the end of the year. And once they're done, see, these are all ones that are tabulated already. They're all in my spreadsheet. You just put them right here so you can kind of keep them organized. And then when the year is all over for tax season, you just wrap it up, you stick it in a box somewhere, and you're set for 2018. There's other things you should keep track of. So for example, if you're advertising for your business at all, and these aren't all cash receipts, these are actual receipts from stores sometimes. So this is, by the way, I should mention, this is not all cash receipts, it's mostly cash receipts, but there's some things I purchased at stores, for example, to resell, so I would put the actual receipt in there. But this would be advertising, any money spent on advertising my business, so I put that in there. Any kind of promos that I do, I put in here any supplies, and you can see this would be my second biggest envelope is supplies. So shipping supplies, handling supplies, all that goes in here. And then food and drink. You're out, you're getting lunch, you're getting a drink, you're getting a snack, sometimes even cash receipts. So if I go to the flea market, you know, I'm writing up one of these receipts. If I'm getting a drink, I'm getting something to eat, it all adds up at the end of the year and it's all deductible. So keep separate envelopes for it, and then again, same thing, you just tabulate it, enter it into your spreadsheet. So I hope that's helpful as a reminder for you, just to make sure you are keeping receipts, especially if you're new to my channel, did not see my prior video. It's important to do. And again, I suggest that you do get them initialed per the suggestion of my accountant. Keep in mind, I am not an accountant myself, and so I cannot literally give you accounting advice. I'm just giving you general suggestion and tips that I know of and that I heard of as being best practice. With that being said, if there's any questions or comments, please make sure you drop those down below. If you like this video, feel the content was helpful, please make sure you hit the like button. Also, if you are watching these videos, getting something out of it, and have not subscribed yet, please do so. We are very close to 700 subscribers. That would be really cool to reach that point. So if you have not subscribed, make sure you hit that treasure chest at the end of the video or anywhere on the channel. Hit subscribe and that will subscribe you. And also, last thing, make sure you come to my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center. Tons of tips and hints and tricks. Over 1,400 members now. It's growing like crazy every day. Very popular site now for resellers. So come on over there. You know, go to the description down below, description section. You'll see the link, and you could just submit a join request. So hope to see you there. I've got to get ready to head out to the flea market and hopefully make a good haul video, a couple of estate sales and stuff today. So I'll see you at the next video. Take care, everyone.